Hi guys, welcome to a very special Platinum Mastermind call, which is going to be a training call, and I'm going to be passing on the controls in a few seconds to Angie, who's going to take over and basically talk to you more about what she's doing and how she's doing it, to be honest with you, and things that you can learn, things that will help you, hopefully, fingers crossed, to get through those hurdles. She's very successful in doing what she's doing currently right now, especially in the space of joint ventures. And I think she's an amazing person to learn from. So let me just bring Angie on, and then I'm going to just hand over the controls and then let her run with it. Hi, Angie, there?
Yep, I'm here. Hi.
Okay,
Can you
brilliant. Let me
hear me
just,
okay?
yeah, I can hear. Let me just, I'm going to make you presenter. Okay, there you go. So you should have the controls now.
Okay, fantastic. Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share some of the lessons learned over the last few years and beyond. And you can see my screen okay there, Sahel?
Yes, I can see it. Okay, clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so again, thank you for letting me have the opportunity to share some of my successes, and I just want to really emphasize the value from being in Sahel's network over, the time that we have been friends, and he's been a mentor to me. I've learned so much not only from him, but also from the group and the members of the group. So when I walk you through some of the successes and some of the not so successes that I've had, just know that so many of them came from this network of, Sahel's expertise and the people that have so much expertise that are in this network. So it's not going to be brand new for you, but you'll be able to see how it's all pulled together. And I'm going to share specifically with you what works really well and what I found for me personally that hasn't worked so well. Now, as you're familiar with or becoming familiar with in doing joint ventures, there's a lot of different ways and different things that you can structure it, and especially as a broker versus a consultant, or an advisor, many different roles and hats that you can play. And me personally, because I'm a CPA and I have a financial background as an advisor for many years, I tend to fall into the consultant type role. And you'll see how I've gravitated toward is the tool that has been, shared with Sahel about the sales and marketing audit. So I'm going to specifically walk you through exactly how I use it, how I've gotten leads, how I've closed sales, and the tools that I've used. So no matter where you are in the process of becoming a joint venture broker or consultant, or maybe just for your own business, this will be helpful to you in all ways for that. So, but specifically, I do want to show you that it is possible to be converting 100% of the time using this tool. So that's what specifically I'm going to focus on today. And let's go ahead and jump in. A little bit more about my background is I am one of Sahel Khan's certified brokers, JV brokers and consultants from his graduate program. And so I have learned a lot, like I said, through his mentorship and through the tools and the training that's been available. And I am, from that, have developed what's called the Impact Alliances, which is a combination of cause marketing and joint ventures, which brings together businesses in order to make an impact, and also the $1 Million CEO program, which brings together the training for those trying to get to the 7-figure mark. But specifically, I want to show you a little bit about my background, about how my very first JV client, I was able to use the tools I'm going to share with you today to immediately get my first consulting client for over $20,000 with a lifetime income stream that came with that. So, the tools of being able to apply them quickly and rapidly are really available, and they work. Now, specifically, when I started using the audit, I've developed this process where I can get these 100% conversions on these and closing into a 10,000 plus engagement after the audit in 100% of the time. Now, just to again give you a little bit of background about how fast this can happen is when you take the principles that you're learning from your mentors and really put them into action and you're clear, you can really step on the gas and go for it. I launched my business last year at $25K a month, and within 8 months hit the first $100K month. So just follow the system that works and repeat it and reach out when you get stuck. Now, before I wrap up the call today in this training, I will share with you a little bit about what I'm working on right now, which is, some multiple seven-figure JVs and my personal favorite JV that's an Impact Alliance that I will share with you as well, too. It's fun and it's exciting, and it's going to just help so many people. I can't wait for it to unfold. All right, so I want to start in by some basics about how business works, because this is really key when you're positioning yourself as a JV consultant, is understand what your role is in helping your customers and your clients. So there are the three key growth drivers, which are, one is the lead generation, and then the sales conversion and customer retention, or leveraging that customer list, those customer assets. Now, I've thrown a fourth one in there, which is the social impact and having a culture that embeds and embodies the purpose of the organization. But when you're talking to clients, you are coming into a role that is to help them increase their sales and with lower marketing costs. And so you have to understand your correct positioning to go in there and solve the correct problem for them. So remember, their problem that they're having is they want more customers at lower cost. And that's exactly what joint ventures can do for them, not only by lowering the cost, but also by helping them reach bigger markets or more global markets that they haven't been able to reach before. So when you understand these three key concepts and you present that throughout the process, it will make it much easier for them to understand why you are so valuable and why they can't do it without you. And that's the position that you want to be in. So I'm going to dive into the very specific details of exactly the funnel that I use in order to close on JV consulting clients. And it is a very simple process. There's a discovery call, and then a strategy call, and an audit review call, and then beginning the engagement. And this is the 100% conversion model. So I'll show you the things that I've done that have been very successful in moving people through this process. So jumping right into the discovery call, let's talk about that just a little bit. My success on this was I was able to get 100 discovery calls in just about 4 weeks, literally booked on my calendar, wake up in the morning, and there they are. Now, that is a front-end system that works, and I literally had to turn it off when I was done or when I had too many, and then now I can turn it back on anytime. So there's a few things that are really important in understanding about what makes a discovery call effective and what doesn't. And the first thing that I did that made this work really well is to have the right kind of joint venture client already in my pocket before I implemented this strategy. So what does that mean? It means this. As a new JV, broker or consultant, you'll find that most people want you to go out and get them new partners, right? Basically, they want salespeople and they don't want to have to pay for it. And so it's very easy for them to, say, hey, a broker, great, go out and get me clients. The problem with it, especially when you're new, is that you may not make any money. And so that becomes a true problem. And so you really need to take the advice and heed the advice that having a distribution, being on the distribution side rather than the product side, is going to help you leverage the strategy 1,000 times. So what that actually means when you break it down is when you're representing a product, people want you to go find buyers, or in this case, go find JV partners. However, there's the other side, which is maximizing and leveraging your assets by saying, hey, I have a distribution list. I have a client list already, and I want to bring more value to my customers. Can you please go find me partners out there who have products that I can then bring into my customer list? This positions you in a much easier way to get your business off the ground and to be much more successful with your partnering. Now, if you already have an existing business and you already have a big customer list, this is a way that you can start bringing a ton more dollars into your company by being able to start leveraging the products that other people's products that your customers want, and they're buying somewhere anyway. So you might as well help them and be the hero for them. Okay. That being said, the important part about having and representing your distribution list as a JV broker is that now it's going to open up a very, very powerful conversation with you when you go to do your lead gen strategy. So here's what the steps that I took and how it works. When you go to reach out to somebody, whether it's in LinkedIn or Facebook, or you meet them at the store, or you're at a networking meeting, the conversation that you can open with, now that you're already representing somebody's distribution list, is basically, hey, do you need leads, right? I mean, bottom line is everybody wants leads. So if you represent leads, you're going to be the hero, and people are going to be very curious to talk to you. So what I did was I set up in LinkedIn a process where I would just say a very simple sentence that says, I have a client that might be a fit for you. Let's jump on a call and see if it is. And literally it was about one sentence with a link to my calendar. And this is how it got all automated. Everybody wants a client, remember. And so by me saying I have a potential client for you, now I've got their interest. And once I have their interest, then it becomes a screening process, which is the point of this call. So in order to get people on the call, which is where most of us will struggle, we might have an idea, or we might want to talk to somebody, we can't actually get them on the call. This is the best system that I've ever seen that actually got people to talk to me. And literally by going through this process of, I have a client, let's jump on a call and see if it's a fit, and they booked their own appointment, and I woke up and saw 20 appointments today on my calendar and had my system send them a reminder. I would say about a 95% show up rate on those calls. You know, that's not typical for when you're trying to, work a sales process, right? You have a lot of no-shows and a lot of cancellations. Not when you're positioned correctly. Okay, so that's how I got the calls. Now let me move over into how do I get them from the discovery call into the strategy session. So this is what's really important in moving forward. When you're on that discovery call, there's a few steps that you have to take, and literally it's only a few steps. The first step is be very clear up front, right up front when you get the call. I only have 15 minutes. This is a very short call, and the only purpose of this call is to see if it's worth having a longer call with you. Get their agreement. Is that okay with you? Yes, that's fine. Okay, so now that you've done that, you've set the stage to being able to very quickly screen, but also create more curiosity. Okay, so while you're on this call, you're looking for, the outcome you're looking for is a commitment and a booked call for a longer session. So what you want to do is, in that call, is to screen whether the list that you're representing, the distribution that you're representing, matches with what they have, what kind of clients they serve, and can they handle a stream of leads coming in, which is another very important prospect. So the first question that I would ask them is, how are they currently getting their leads? And most of them will say networking, referrals, I'm not really sure, I'm not really good at it. And that's already giving me the indicator that they, of what they're currently doing and how it works. The next I want to know is, what kind of client do they serve? Because I need to know if my distribution list that I'm representing is going to actually be a match for their clients. Obviously, we're not just trying to sell anything to anybody or match anybody with anybody. We're specifically trying to serve the client. That's the bottom line. And so we want to know those two things. Now, the third thing that comes out of that is, are they ready? Do they have their systems in place in order to actually accept, in my case, I had a list of over 300,000 leads, and I would just outright ask them, if you were to have 300,000 leads coming to you, would you be able to handle that in your system? And that helps me understand where they are in their business. Now, from here, a lot of screening was happening, because I actually personally found that most people weren't ready to have leads, which was very surprising to me. I thought everybody was ready for leads, but they're actually not. So it was important to screen that down. Now, from that, what I was able to do is, if there was a fit with their systems and if there was a fit with their clients, then I said, this sounds like it might be a great fit. Let's book a longer call. And the important thing about that is to not try to offer them any other information. Don't try to sell them into anything. Don't try to do anything. Even if they ask, don't do it on the discovery call. it will distract you, and it will unfocus the control of the call. So you really want that discovery call to just be short with the outcome of booking the other call. The other rule of thumb that I would do is always book that call within 24 to 48 hours max, because you will get cancellations if it goes on, because they won't understand, or they won't lose interest, I should say. Okay, so now I've got them booked on the strategy call. So again, it's all about the proper positioning for you in order to help them understand that they don't have any better solution but you, and you have this potential, far number of leads that, are going to serve their customers. So there's some key points during that strategy call that you want to make sure to cover to maintain your positioning and to really find out if this potential customer is ready for you or not. Now, I'll back up just a little bit to say that majority of the people that I talked to in that process did not have a system to drive leads. Now, that put me in a perfect position to be the consultant for them, to help them figure out what's going on in their business that they can't handle leads. And so that was good positioning for me as a consultant. Not so good positioning if all you want to do is just broker and just be that middleman and, broker the transaction and leave. Because if they don't have a working process, it's not going to be a working process for you, because you won't make any money on that, and it won't be a good partnership. All right, so on the strategy call, here's a few things that you'll want to make sure to go over with them in positioning yourself correctly. First of all, you want to be the inquirer. Your job on that call is to listen and to understand exactly what it is that they're trying to accomplish and why they haven't already accomplished it. Now, most of the time they want more sales, they want more customers, they want more profit, they want more information, or more sales. And so you want to understand why, because going back to those, the key drivers, this is where you'll want to start to introduce that idea that those three drivers are the only things that are possible. Those are the only ways to focus in growing a company, is to manage the leads, to convert the sales, and to leverage the existing customers. So if you start to plant the seeds in them by explaining your expertise in understanding these three things, then they can automatically start to see in their own perspective where their shortfall is. So if you introduce the idea about those three drivers and then ask them, well, which of these areas, do you feel that you're stuck on that's not getting you those sales that you want to get to? And now you know exactly the way to position the audit as the tool that's going to help uncover exactly why that area isn't working well, and also why the other two areas could be doing so much better if they had a second set of eyes from a trained professional that knew exactly how to close those gaps. So you're positioning them through educating them on those three key drivers, and that the audit itself is going to be the tool that digs deeply into those three areas so that they know exactly what to do. Now, when I make the offer to the audit, it's always important to me to let them know that what they're going to get out of that audit is an action plan that they can do on their own. So they have the ability to get a complete engagement with me just by going through the audit. The strategy call is important to just position yourself so that there is no other solution for them that's going to be effective and efficient other than stopping what they're doing and taking an honest look at exactly what's working and what's not working, so they can stop wasting their time buying people's programs and investing a bunch of money in strategies that aren't working very well. So the audit is their hero solution for that. So now what I do on the audit is I will typically say, that I charge $5,000 for the audit, but for right now, since they're getting started, which is usually the case, or as an introductory rate or as a friend of so-and-so, I will say, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will offer it to you for $1,000. And so I go ahead and reduce that down to $1,000 just so I get those yeses, because I know I can convert 100%, right, from the audit. So I don't want that initial barrier to be the thing that keeps me from having that high conversion ratio at the back end and really helping them solve those problems. So here's the process that I use when I actually have, an audit. So I've gotten them from the strategy call to say yes to a $1,000 audit with me. Now, right then and there, I schedule a time for our audit review meeting. And in that audit review meeting, I schedule it no later than 7 days. This is really important, to do it within 7 days and get their commitment that they'll be available to do that they can take some time and do it. I've always had people say, yeah, I can make that happen. And then from there, what I do is I will say, that's great, but I need the audit back in 5 days so I have time to analyze it. Can you do that? Again, getting their commitment. And they say yes. So I get their audit back and I read read what they wrote and, maybe have a conversation with Sahel. Says, Sahel, what do you think? And try to understand and reach out, right? But really, once you get the audit, they reveal to you where their weaknesses are. And you already have enough experience with your company or, as a broker or consultant to know what the potential opportunities are for them. So when I get that audit back, what I do is I prepare a 3-part report. And guess what the 3 parts are? Yeah, exactly. They're the 3 key drivers. So it's mirroring those seeds I've been planting to them all along, that if they don't have those parts being managed, they're not going to be making the money that they want to be making. So I actually prepare an action report based on those 3 parts and visually match them up to, here's the lead gen opportunities that I discovered in the audit. Here's the conversion opportunities I discovered, and here is the leverage opportunities or retention opportunities. Because now they are being educated and they see, and they're also like their eyes bug out, like, oh my gosh, there's so much left on the table that they're not doing. So from there, we've really exposed them and they can see, oh, you're so right. I have so much opportunity now to be able to capture these, but where do I start? How do I manage it? What happens? And this is where I can say, look, here's your action plan. You can go implement all these things by yourself. Here you go. I'm giving you complete engagement. Or if you want my help, I can continue to work on these while you continue to work on the parts of your business you're already working on. And I give them that option. So option 1 that I give them is, do you want to do it yourself or do you want me to do it for you or with you? But the other important thing about the option this is the key closer. You got your pens ready? Okay. What I've done in every situation is I've offered them 2 ways to engage with me. One way requires higher cash up front with a lower percentage of the back end of any sales that I help them engage with. Or I reverse it and say lower up front. Let's see, which one did I say? So it's either a higher upfront with a lower back end or a lower upfront with a higher back end. And so even on my first one that I had told you with lifetime income with $20,000, that ended up being a 25% lifetime back end with every upsell and downsell that goes through that funnel. That was an incredible offer. And they wanted to do that because they didn't want to put that much cash up front. And so being able to let them decide allows them to be in full control over what action they're going to take, and it's going to help them be engaged with you throughout the process because they're the ones who are making the decisions and they're the ones deciding exactly what outcomes that they want because they're the ones making the decisions. So this is the process that I use every time. And even I tell you what happened to me just a few weeks ago. I took somebody through and they had the audit. They did the audit. And then they were just so overwhelmed. Like, I don't have time to do an audit. Like, that sounds so overwhelming to me. But what I immediately did was I just said, I'll tell you what, I'll do the audit with you. Why don't you jump on the phone with me next week for an hour and we'll do part 1. And then the next week we'll do part 2 and part 3. And at the end, I'll still give you the report. So did it take more of my time to do that? Yes, but what happened? Within the second meeting, I converted it to a consulting engagement for $15,000. So, as soon as they saw the power of what I can do from them and sitting with me for an hour and walking them through, they immediately were like, I can't, I need your help, right? So going back through this, it's really about giving them choices and options, because I believe if you educate people, they will make smart choices for themselves. And if you give them good options, they'll do what's right for them. All right, so that is the process. I'm going to flip back up. I'm just going to go back through it again. Discovery call, short, 15 minutes, no longer, never, never, never. Oh, I'm giving you the heads up on the nevers, which I do have a slide for in just a second. Discovery call, short, to the point. The whole purposeful outcome is to get a strategy call. The strategy call is to listen and understand and position yourself, and then offer the audit. Then the audit is to go over all the information and the report that you discovered, and then position yourself for being their solution to helping them get that done quickly. All right, so let me share with you what my seven-figure Impact Alliance or seven-figure JV that I'm working on right now, and how I've integrated and expanded on the idea of the audit. Now, I don't recommend that you expand or change anything in the audit until you're really mastered it. I always used to say to my students in karate class, if you start modifying before you're a master, then all you're doing is rebelling. So don't rebel. Do it the way that it is, and then as you master it, if you want to expand on it, then that's a possibility. So my current seven-figure joint venture that I'm doing right now is I'm launching Better Life Tax as a national tax franchise, and in that, the whole point is to help people move up and along the hierarchy of financial freedom, which starts with making sure that they have good, solid income, and then it moves up expenses to their assets, debt, lifestyle, and giving back. So what I'm doing now is I am modifying the sales and marketing audit to expand it to an audit of their financial freedom. And so with a financial freedom audit, I can use the same exact process, but now more in their personal finances, not just in their business income. Because you have to increase your income, but then once you have that income, as a financial advisor, this is the way that I'm expanding on it. And so this joint venture is not only the taxes, and now it allows me to partner with insurance companies and mortgage companies and travel companies and lots of different agencies to being able to help these clients move up their hierarchy of financial freedom. So, you can expand on it, but again, don't expand on the tools until you've mastered them and you have proven results. And if you do expand on them and you find your results start to slide down, then go back to what works and stop doing what doesn't work. All right, so let me just wrap up real quickly here with the nevers. These are some of the lessons that I learned the hard way, but I wanted to share with them so you don't have to do that. So first of all, never, never send the audit without receiving the money up front. You think that's a no-brainer, I get it. I allowed someone, very trustworthy person, to, said yes, we closed. I sent him over the audit, and then I went to process his credit card, and he didn't send me the information. And I called him up and said, well, hey, what happened? He's like, oh, I kind of changed my mind. I don't want to do it. And I had to tell him, look, I just sent you my proprietary information. That doesn't seem fair for you not to pay for it. And it was a really awkward situation. So just was being nice that day, and that wasn't a good thing to do. So just make sure that your closing process always takes the money before giving the goods. I probably shouldn't have even shared that. I'm sure that Sahel is shaking his head hearing that story. The other thing is never make the offer from the discovery call. I've already said that several times. It totally disrupts and distracts the process trying to combine those two sessions. You want to create a clean break with curiosity, and you leave them in that place of hope and inquiry to come back on the call with you again. If you try to sell them, they don't know you yet. One of the things I forgot to mention that I will do in between those is I will send them a copy of the joint venture book or an article or something in between. So as soon as I get off that discovery call and I've got that booked, I will send them something to read. because that's still rapport building processes. And then even in the appointment reminders for that strategy call, that's still another rapport building. And so there's still more information, maybe even a video in there, so that there is, even if it's 24 hours or 48 hours, it still is just a rapport building, some multiple steps. So by the time I've created that break between the discovery call and the strategy call, then that's allowed them to get to know me a little bit better. And now they have a fresh view of me when I jumped on that call. The third never that I say, this is not for everybody, so everybody has a little bit different personality, but for me personally, I don't do commission-only engagements. I always take a retainer, and I always do either a monthly or a cash upfront retainer, and then possibly some percentage of the back end, and sometimes no percentage of the back end. But this is my choice because I'm positioning myself as a consultant and an advisor rather than a broker. So if you do a commission only, I highly, highly recommend that you are on the distribution side, because most people on the product side who are ready to do commission only don't have working funnels, and so it's going to cost you a lot of time and energy, and even if you go get leads, you could ruin your own reputation by bringing something into a broken funnel. So make sure you have proven, tested results from prior JVs before you represent them. Don't try to take new people out on the market, because it's a totally different skill set and a totally different process. Okay. Then the last one, I kind of combined it, is don't offer to build the funnel for them that converts. It's a different skill set. They need to have that already in place. Even if you do that for a living, I still recommend that either get a consulting fee in order to set that up for them, or to have them show you proven results, because for you to build that and be the broker, it just doesn't position you in the same way. So I would highly recommend keeping those two things very separate. So with that, I'm sharing all those secrets and all of the things that I've learned and how I use the audit. And one last thing I'll share with you is I am doing an introductory class on JVs. So if you're interested, you can go to the impactjv.com, and I'll walk through step by step exactly how to easily close these deals, and the scripts and all the things that I use to do that. So if you're interested in that, I put a special offer in there for Sahel's group, so feel free to do that. But for today, I wanted to make sure that you had everything that you need and understood, so that at least at this point you could go out and you could take what you've learned from this training and go out there and make it happen. All right. Well, if there's any questions, I haven't seen any come through at this point, but please send them through. I'm happy to stay on. And Sahel, if you want to, if you have any questions as well, let me turn it back over to you.
Okay, brilliant. I've got a couple of questions here. So what we'll do, Angie, is we'll keep that that screen up there, but I'll have some questions that I'll throw at you. So first question comes from Murray, and Murray says, where's his question? Let's have a look. Murray says, what criteria do you look for in a potential good client? What for you qualifies a person to work with you?
There's two things that I highly look for. The very first and foremost thing is, do they have a working, proven funnel? That's the biggest roadblock for most people. Now, I can help them with that as a consultant to some degree, but I will also partner with other people who are better technically than I am. So that first criteria is, do they have a working funnel? Now, part of that also means, can they close a sale? Because they might have a working online funnel, but maybe it leads into a bigger engagement. And if they don't know how to close a sale, or how to represent their product, or their technology isn't working right, then I can't. That's my highest criteria. The other criteria for me is, do I like them? To be honest with you, do I like what they're doing? Do I like what they're doing in the world? Do I like their product? I won't represent any product that doesn't have the high value and standard that I have, which is to serve clients to the best way as possible. I don't believe in just selling people products that they aren't ready for, or that they're not going to use or work. If we can screen that ahead of time, so I can best offer exactly what will really help them, I look for that in my clients as well as in my partners.
Brilliant. And let's have a look. Murray also has another question. He says, how do you find people with large lists? I think we covered some of that.
Great question.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, people with large lists are typically people that are already out there with digital products. And so, it's easy to find the internet marketers. You could look at the Facebook advertising and you can see who's doing that. And, the first step I would do was when you reach out to them as a JV broker is to just ask them first and foremost to set the stage of, would you like help in bringing more revenue to your list, rather than would you like help in me finding you partners? Because they will take that as, great, more people will sell my products, but you really want to position yourself to say, I can bring more revenue to your list. And honestly, you only need one client to kick this whole thing off, and they don't have to have a big list. Because even if you went and maybe a friend of yours or somebody newer in the market has only 1,000 people on their list, or even 500 people on their list, and you say, can I represent that list and find you some, products that serve your market? That's all you need to be having an honest conversation with somebody that says, I have a potential client for you. And if you don't have that initial list, then you're really not being honest when you go to reach out and say, I have a potential client for you. So you want to get that first client, and it doesn't have to be a big client. It can be a small client. Now, how do you get those big clients is you start with those small ones and you start asking those questions. So the list that I started out with was actually a referral from Sahel. And then from there, I started to talk to him, and turns out he had 7,500 JVs on his list, let alone his clients. And so it just opened the door for more conversations.
I think that's a great answer, and that leads up to the question that Bijal was asked. Bijal asked, what do you suggest as an alternative to, I have a client that's interested in working with you ethically? So I know where Bijal's coming with that with that question, because it's one of those. The reason we ask that question is to get a response, right, and a direct response. But yeah, I think Angie's just answered that question for you in terms of, we do have people in our network that are interested in working with them, right? So I think the most of the times when I ask that question, that's because I do have someone. So I don't really say it to just just to say it to people to get them to react. You've got to have something to be able to give to them, right? To be able to do that. So I think Angie's answered that question. Stefan said, yeah, go on, Angie.
If I could I want to reiterate that too, because I hate the bait and switch, right? And I'll never do it. And sometimes if I'm just not confident and it feels like, oh, am I turning the conversation? I just won't do it. So I just make sure I get really clear that this is a potential client for them. And when I open that conversation, say I have a potential client, let's see if it's a fit, I tell them I'm a broker and I represent other clients, and I think this client is a great fit for you to drive leads into your business. Is that something you're looking for? And that's that initial conversation on the discovery call. So very clearly and upfront, I let them know that the client I'm talking about is a client that can bring them more than just one client, that maybe that's what they're thinking about when they get that message.
Good. So, okay, so I know Bijal asked that question, and that is what we do. So Stefan says, when looking for clients, any criteria for the size of the company? Do you actually, when you're looking at working with clients, do you have a specific checklist and say, look, this is the only sort of companies that I'm willing to work with?
So thank you. That's a great question. I'll tell you what the criteria in looking for a company is as a JV broker or even as a consultant is really understanding what the phases of business are and understanding what they need. For example, phase one that a business goes through is trying to get to consistent cash flow, which means they need to figure out what product they have, who their market is, how to close it, how to sell it, how to reach their market. They're really going through that whole process of, I need to be able to sell this product consistently and make cash flow. That's phase one. Phase two is about, now you've got all of this, revenue coming in, but you need structure. And so your company is in a mode of, oftentimes you'll hear overwhelm or, I can't handle any more clients right now. I need to hire people. And those signs and symptoms of being in a phase two business are not what they're looking for from a JV broker, because they've already got the sales process figured out, right? Where we best help clients is in that phase one when they're trying to figure out the formula of how do I reach my market, what does my market need, how do I get clients, how do I close clients. And so that those types of companies, whether they're small or large, doesn't matter. If it's a large company, it shows up in the format of launching a new product or they want to reach a new market. So they're trying to figure out that consistent cash flow formula in a bigger way or in a different way. So those are the criteria that I'm looking for, is that in order for us to be most effective, we have to be able to help them with those, key driver perspectives. And those are almost always in phase one that's going to get the highest rate of return quickly.
Brilliant. And Murray has another question. He says, so in addition to any commissions from a product owner, do you also get a commission from the list owner? So Murray's basically saying if you have a client and then you go and put a deal together, but see, from my understanding, when you're working as a consultant, if you have a client that you're working for, it's predominantly the client that pays you, and it's you make money from that one end. But when you're brokering deals, you can be the middleman that's putting a deal together between two companies, and you can basically, which is what is called double dipping. So I think that explains that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. However, I do use that as an opportunity for a new consulting client. So it may not be that I'm saying, okay, here's, let me go find a partner for you, or we've got everything in order, we're structured, now I can also help you find partners. So I go out to find the partners, but, I'm not going to say, okay, let me also get that. But now that I've made that relationship with that new partner, then I can take them through the audit, right? And then find partners for them. So you can still leverage it to get a new client, but no, not in this case. You're right, Sahel. When you're a consultant, you're really representing that particular client. And even though, sure, maybe people could do it, I just don't feel like that's the right thing to do for them.
Yeah, and it's so lucrative consulting on its own. I mean, why would you want to do that? And it just creates more work for you, because if you have a relationship with a client, then sometimes the client can introduce you to more business. So just be aware of that you should always try and look after your relationship with the client, because the client at the end of the day could open many doors for you. So that's great. So guys, let me know if you've got any more questions. Please put them in the question box for Angie before we wrap up. And I will be this session's being recorded, and I will get it. I'll get it all sorted out and uploaded to the group, so you guys can have that ASAP. Bijal says, did you cover the JVs you are working on? Is that for Angie? Yeah, Angie did. Angie's got one big major project she's doing, the 7-figure JV, which is was it the tax?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this major project it's partly my own JV, really. I'm saying, you know what? I've been consulting all these businesses for so long. I actually want to be my own CEO right now, and so what I'll just cover it real briefly, which is, by launching a franchise, the franchise in and of itself now, a role of a franchise owner is to empower the franchisees to make more money. And so by having franchisees in the tax industry, which, by the way, doesn't require any credentials to do, so it's very low barrier of entry to process tax returns, believe it or not. But anyway, sure. So my role now is to really help them create more income in their franchisee office, which is putting together joint ventures for all the additional financial needs that customers have besides their taxes. So, refinancing their mortgage or getting life insurance for their family or saving for retirement, all those different things are all joint ventures that not only will be for me at the high level, at the corporate level, but also at the franchisee level. And then each person then will be able to make more income using all of these principles in their business as part of the franchise.
Brilliant. Okay, guys. So if you've got any more questions, please put them in the chat box. For some of you guys who have jumped on the call later, you can watch the rest of the recording. I'll have it all up, so you'll be able to see what happened right from the beginning. But again, if you've got any questions, put them in right now. If not, then we'll say thank you very much to Angie. Thanks for your time, Angie, and thanks for sharing some of your knowledge, which I thought was quite fantastic. I love your thoughts and thought process behind it, and I think you're going to do very, very well with the project. So thank you, Angie. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I'm available. Obviously I try to jump on and answer people's questions as they come up. So just reach out. I'm here to share what I've learned.
And also do check out Angie's training there with the website URL. She's doing a special deal for everyone in the group. And if there's anyone else that you want to share that with, guys, send it across to people, because as you know, I'm not currently doing any training this year at all. So anyone who wants to do some joint venture training this year, definitely go for that training with Angie there. So guys, thank you very much. Angie, thanks for coming on, and everybody take care wherever you are in the world. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, and I'll speak to you guys very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.